So, as I said just a couple minutes ago, we are joined by RAJAH CARUTH, driver of the number 44 Alpha Prime Chevrolet Camaro SS in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for the newly renamed Alpha Prime Racing. This year, it's Martins Motorsports, owned by Tommy Joe Martins and his father, but now it is co-owned by Cesar Baccarella, who, if I remember correctly, is the CEO of Alpha Prime. RAJAH, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing good. Talk a little bit about the whole deal, how it came together, because I know right now you're in the ARCA Menards East series. So to jump from that and from late models up to the Xfinity series, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Josh Berry did a few years ago.
Definitely. I guess this started a couple months ago where Dad and I started exploring ways to be in the race car more. And so I already had a decent relationship with Tommy. After our run at Dover, he had shot me a text. And so that was kind of how that started. And then Brad Perez helped develop that relationship a little bit more. And at that time, I was just exploring okay, what other races can I do, whether it's late model stuff here at Rev, or more ARCA races, and then potentially looking at truck and Xfinity stuff. And so got into pretty serious talks with Tommy, and at that time, that was around when Caesar started collaborating with him, and they got that deal done, and so that helps the financial game a whole lot more as well. So that's kind of how it started. And Seth, I would say yes, it's a jump, but it's not an entire jump as either. I've got 4 ARCA races left this year. I'll go to get my first mile and a half experience, as well as going to Bristol and Phoenix, both racetracks that are on the Xfinity Series schedule. And next year, the tracks that we're looking at will be racetracks that I've all been to for the most part, minus Richmond, with being Martinsville after we do the late model race there in the fall this year, Dover, which we went to this year, and hopefully we'll go back with ARCA if they go back there next year. Richmond will be a new place. Kansas will be a place that we already went to this fall, and we'll be on this racetrack at the same time, or same weekend with the ARCA stuff. And then looking at Pocono as well, which if it's the same as this year, we get a whole ARCA test day. So that's going to pay dividends into having more track time before the Xfinity stuff, regardless if we have practice or not. So yes, I think it'll be a big jump, but at the same time, it'll be something that I feel personally prepared for. And I've got people like Mark Green, Bubba Wallace, Corey LaJoy, people that I can lean on for advice and pointers about really behind the steering wheel and how to approach it mentally as well.
And Justin, you go first.
Okay, I was going to say, well, you mentioned all these different parts of track time and stuff like that, but you're 19 years old. What was your reaction like when you get that contract right in front of you and it says these Xfinity races, the second biggest series of stock car racing across the nation? What was your reaction when you saw that?
Man, it was pretty surreal, Justin, but I think where it really sunk in for real kind of was yesterday or a couple of days ago. I did Davey Siegel's podcast, Victory Lane, and I had my Alpha Prime shirt on, and you know how you can see the camera on Zoom. Well, I kept seeing the Xfinity Series patch on my shoulder, and that was kind of a moment of really? Is this legit? So at the same time, man, I would like to stay as chill as possible, because I know a lot of things can change, and Martinsville is going to be in April. So that's I can't do math, but 8 months probably. So, just a little chill until then, and then I guess we can talk about what it's like to make a first Xfinity start as well.
And in those 8 months, you'll also have some ARCA races, not only this year, but next year you're running full-time for Rev Racing as well. So you'll get a little bit more experience on the mile and a halves, probably Daytona. I know that's not on your Xfinity schedule as of right now. Is there any chance that Xfinity schedule might expand, or is it just going to stay Martinsville, Kansas, Richmond, and Pocono?
So we're looking at having probably 5 Xfinity races total, sponsorship pending, just because I would like to be in rookie of the year eligibility for 2023. But next year I'll run the full ARCA schedule. So I'll go to Daytona, Talladega, Kansas, Pocono, Charlotte, really racetracks that are competed on Sundays. And so that's going to pay dividends from getting more mile-and-a-half experience and learning about the aerodynamics more. And I know the Cup cars won't rely on side force anymore, but just to learn that from the ARCA series and learn how to draft and how those plate races go with Daytona and Talladega. So, man, I'm excited for next year. I mean, some people get to race never. Some people get to race like only 5 times a year, 3 times a year, and I get to race 20 plus stock car races next year. Like that is insane. On top of the fact that being all of them at a national level, and being televised, like I'm going to do what I can to take advantage of this opportunity.
Now, all of this started a few years ago when you were in Drive for Diversity in the youth program. I remember meeting you at the Bojangles Summer Shootout, 2019, I believe. You were running the Legend car there. How long was it from the time you entered the combine for Drive for Diversity to you being in the youth program, and how much did you learn from that program?
So we had we did the video to try out for the combine in October of 2018, and then the combine was in March of 2019, and the first shootout race was June 10th of 2019. So that's kind of the timeline there. And the combine, like that was, the Drive for Diversity combines are like great experiences, but they're also insanely stressful because you're really hyper analyzing everything that you do, from your time management to obviously how you are on the racetrack to really how you're assessed, and your presentation as a person, as a young person. So I learned a lot in that whole year. It was definitely, that first summer in Legend Cars was like pretty hard, very hard. But I learned a lot, and the experiences I got that summer I wouldn't change at all.
And from there, you went from Legend Cars to late models last year, and you picked up one of your first wins at Greenville Pickens Speedway. I know you've talked a lot about that win back in October last year, I believe it was. What is it like to break through and finally be able to get that first win? Granted, it's about a year removed now, but how relieving was it to know that you can get into victory lane?
Yeah, man, it was really a cumulative feeling. Like that whole month leading up to it, like we had started as a team putting together really solid runs together, and I was starting to understand it better and do what I was supposed to do as a driver. Like at Florence, we blew up running second, and then Hickory ran fourth, and then Myrtle Beach was going okay before I kind of caused a wreck. It was a racing deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to say it's my fault. And then leading up to October 3rd. So I think overall, like leading up to that, it felt great because it had been a long dry spell since anybody had really won or brought a trophy back to Rev. So I think it was great for team morale to finally get one. And then it helped me personally because it kind of proved to myself a little bit. Then, like, everybody has this doubt, I think, whether it's professionally or personally or whatever. Like, are you, like, can I do this? You know? And so that was helpful in that aspect as well. And to the fact that it just kind of made sense that all the things were starting to click as well. And really from there, we've kind of just been pretty good in the late model since then.
Now, backtracking just a little bit, I know you got your start to a certain degree on iRacing, similar to William Byron, and that helped to propel you into the Drive for Diversity program. But I know you and I competed in Monday Night Racing. I know I may have gotten into you. I think it was Chicagoland when my wheel failed on me, but talk a little bit about iRacing. I know you're partnered with Space Station Racing on there, and in part, that's one of the many ways you're connected with Brad Perez, Ryan Vargas, Will Rogers, and others. And how beneficial is iRacing to you and for your career?
Yeah, so to kind of paint the whole picture. So I did indoor karting for one summer, like 8 or 10 races, like a two practice 10-minute sessions of qualifying a race, like whatever, and then the year after is when I hopped on iRacing, and I spent like an insane amount of time on there from June through like September, October, November of that year. And that's really where I kind of learned the basics. That's how I learned how to race from square one. And then we started in legend cars and so on. And so I would say iRacing is really how I started my career for real. Um, and some of the things on there that I learned, I still apply today, like mentally, and even things that I do on the racetrack. So um, I think it was some specifically iRacing was a huge was why I got into this program. Like, I would not be talking to you guys if it wasn't for the Ignite series in 2018 and different other like divisions like NIS and stuff, like, which may seem minuscule, but it shows, I guess it legitimized me to the people at NASCAR and at Rev Racing and Max, and I'm grateful to have gotten that opportunity.
Well, you take this drive for diversity to a whole new level. My gosh, you got indoor karting, got iRacing, legend cars, stock cars, both the small blocks and the big block cars. You're going up to Xfinity. How do you put all these very different puzzle pieces together to find yourself to victory lane to make yourself competitive on the track?
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, it's important just to stay level-headed and approach everything kind of as evenly as you can. Like, regardless of if it's whatever race I'm doing, even if it's rental car to GoPro, like, well, scratch that because rental carts, everybody goes in try hard mode. But you get what I'm saying?
Yep, definitely.
just just to run all the laps and learn. Like, you're not learning if you're tearing up stuff, if you're um, like not thinking critically. And I think going from even last year doing late models and legend cars, that was very hard because you have to think critically onto, okay, I got to drive this a certain way and I can do this, I can get away with this in this car, and this is what you do, versus in the other one where, okay, I can't get away with this, but I have this, and vice versa. So I think the critical thinking skills and the thinking under pressure and just comprehending everything was a struggle at first, but it's important to do that to be successful. And then luckily, I guess through this year with getting wins at Hickory and Tri County, we really I personally started to understand it even better, until where like I can have dialogues with my crew guys and we can talk specifically about what the car, like what settings we bring to the racetrack, and I physically understand like what we have and say, okay, I like this, let's bring this to this racetrack. All right, we tried this change here, I want that same feel here, and vice versa. So I hope that answered your question as well.
Yeah, and I guess the other side questions you've mentioned a couple times your dad. So how have your parents been involved? Have they ever, have your dad or your mom raced, or anyone else kind of distant in your family? Have they ever raced, or are you kind of the first blood to go out there and put it out on the track?
Yeah, so my dad was born in St. Vincent and he immigrated to New York in the 70s. My mom was born in London. She also came to New York in the 70s. So no racing, like, whatsoever. Like, I'm an inner city kid. Like, I did not grow up going to the racetrack. The reason I got into racing was like seeing it on TV or like getting diecast or watching their YouTube, like very removed from the world of racing. So I didn't grow up going to the racetrack and like was kind of naive to or not near the world of stock car racing and specifically NASCAR.
So what was that first picture of a race car like for you? Like when was the first time, do you recall, like when was that first time of seeing a race car and going, whoa, this is actually really interesting?
I would say I don't have a memory like that. I have memories of seeing races. Like, I remember watching the 2009 Carfax 250 in Michigan, or Brad Keselowski won. I remember watching that race. I remember watching like Tony Stewart won the championship in 2011, and like AJ Allmendinger win at Watkins Glen, like I guess specific races. But I mean, from what I've been told by my parents, like I didn't phase out of it. Like I liked planes and stuff before I got into racing, and then it just never went away.
What was the first race that you went to in person?
The 2014 Virginia 529 College Savings race at Richmond International Raceway. It's still Richmond International in my heart, but now it's Richmond Raceway.
Old school, I like it.
And what was the first diecast that you got? Since you mentioned diecast as well.
Man, I don't remember what the first one I had was. I remember I had a Bobby Labonte Cheerios 2008. I had a Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. 06 because it was a Gen 4, and it was like the Dale Jr. that was like, it wasn't the Budweiser, it was like the ones you got at the store. I had a 2007 Harvick All-Star Race win. I used to love that car, and I lost it too. I remember. I had a Montoya 2008 COT. I had a McMurray 09 COT. I can't remember the first one I had, but I remember like some of the first ones I had. I had a Menard 2011, a Burton 2011. You remember the platinum ones that had the hoods come up, the 164s? I had the Old Spice and the Office Depot Tony Stewart combo of those. Man, now I'm just remembering it all. I had like a couple of 187s, but it was like from like the Gordon 2007, Jimmy Johnson 2007, Matt Kenseth, and I lost those too.
Oh man,
I was a kids lose diecast, so
that's why the parents always keep them in the box.
Yeah,
I didn't understand when I was a kid, but now I totally get it. So, by the way, if ever you need a Lionel Racing warehouse, Seth has plenty of that there at his place. You can kind of see a small glimpse. Right there.
Nice.
I guess just one final question. We'll kind of finish off this whole thing a little bit on the fun side, but you are a sophomore at Winston-Salem State University going for a motorsports management major. And now that we've kind of heard your story, this all makes sense why you're going for this degree. So long term, obviously you want to race the car, you want to be the driver, you want to be the one behind the wheel. That's kind of clear from your story, but with this motorsports management major, is that kind of your fallback? Like, what are you hoping to do in the racing industry besides racing?
Yeah, so that's my backup plan, but I don't really forecast it being like instituted. But I guess once I'm done as a driver, hopefully decades down the line, I'll be able to use what I gained through this to be present in the sport. I mean, I would like to make it my life's work to leave a legacy. And then plus, like as a black kid, like it's important to get my education, because like no matter what happens, like I'll have a degree, so nobody can take that from me. So I think that's the importance of that. My parents explained that to me from a young age, and everybody in my family, my grandma, my aunts and uncles, cousins, everybody has expressed that to me, and my sister and all my other little cousins and older cousins. So that's kind of the rationale there. And so although I'd be lying if I said it was easy, it is pretty hard, because like compared to like my girlfriend or like friends that have like 15 and 18 credit hours, like I'm only taking 12 this fall, but like balancing it with being at the shop every day, with workouts, with living in an apartment by myself, like it doesn't like seem that big of a deal, but it's like a lot to kind of manage time with. So, and like you said, Justin, I guess I'm only 19, so that kind of is a little bit hard too. So
I remember when I was 19 balancing stuff like that, and trust me, I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but it doesn't get easier. But the fact that you're starting to learn how to tackle it now, it's going to set you up for a really successful future. So best of luck with all of that. Other than that, I think that's really all we had, but great announcement. Really excited to see what happens for you in 22 with those Xfinity races. Best of luck the rest of this year and next year as well. And hopefully, like you said, we'll see you for decades to come.
Sweet. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Seth.